All right, so now let's move on to lens correction. It's another panel here in the develop module, and we're going to start with the basic. And usually the basic, this is kind of how it's set up, the default settings. You can enable profile corrections, and what that's going to do is it's going to look at what lens you're using and try to help deal with any distortions. And then you can remove any chromatic aberrations clicked in there, and then you can decide if you want to constrain crop. What that does is it keeps it the original image area. It won't pull anything outside of that. I'm going to leave that off because I'm going to show you why in just a second. Right now we've got everything off, but by default basic turns it to auto first. So that's original. Now if I do auto, it does a pretty good job. But I've also got level, I've got vertical, and I've got full. And you can go back and forth and try these out. But notice it's giving me this white border where it's reenacting things. And I know this isn't the greatest picture in the world, but this really does demonstrate kind of what's going on here. Level and auto keep the frame pretty good, but vertical really goes crazy unless you turn on constrain crop, and then you get something like this, which I think is just awesome. Yeah, that steeple straight, too bad we lost the rest of the thing. What you want to do there is turn it off, then constrain crop, and try again. Nope, that doesn't work. So then you're going to go, yeah, I'm going to leave it to where I just do what, it's actually not even paint, but there we go. Sometimes constrained crop gets a little sticky, so you might have to do it back and forth a little. What I'd rather do is have the thing work out right, so maybe full or whatever, if I like that, and then I could build in some of that, or I could crop around so it looks a little bit better. But I tell you what, auto does a pretty darn good job, and that's before, and that's auto. Now here's the thing, if you want to go and you turn these off, you can reanalyze and it can try again. Give you a little bit different shot at trying to figure out how everything works out, but pretty much I leave enable profile corrections on there. Now if you want to move over to profile and make sure everything's right on that, you can set it up, and you've got some drop down menus, default, auto, or you can load some lens profiles in here. That's a whole nother step. If you want to get into there, you probably have enough wherewithal to go figure out how that all happens. I don't want to take time for that right now. But you've got, this one's read what I had. I used a Canon EF 16-35, and it's using that profile. And even if that works out pretty well, but it's a little bit off, I can use, and I could tweak the distortion, and I could do a little bit of vignetting. Remember I talked about that before. If my lens is darkening the corners, I can come in and do that. But because here's the thing, because I did all that right here, you're not really seeing any of that. Let's turn that off and go back over to profile over here. We turn that on, and now there's some darker areas that I can tweak with my vignetting going on right there. But let's go back to this, and I tell you what, we're going to come over to color, turn all that off. And you can come in, and usually you can find on a daylight area like this, you can find areas that there's some chromatic aberration. So you click on that, and it's going to go try to find what chromatic aberration is when you take a picture, especially where there's high contrast with like a subject, a thin element and the sky or something like that, especially if you're zooming in, depending on the quality of your lens, you may get that purple fringe or that green fringe around it. Now, the thing is with this one, I really don't have a lot of chromatic aberration, and I'm actually kind of happy because I have a hard time seeing it. That's not my strong suit there, but know that you can come in, you can take and drag your eyedropper if there is chromatic aberration that you see in your image, and click on that area, and it's going to try to fix it for you, and then you can tweak the sliders over there. For instance, let's say I thought maybe there was some chromatic aberration in between these palm fronds right here. That would be a likely candidate. If I come in here and click on that area, what it's going to do is it's going to try to find all those same areas and knock it out. The problem is, because there is no chromatic aberration, it went around every place where there could be chromatic aberration and just changed that. So that was horrible. Let's undo that. and bring that back, and we can just plop that right in there. So you can definitely play around in there. It has rescued a lot of images, but you're just going to need a little bit of tweaking on all that and figuring out how the sliders work. But remember, you can always double click to reset everything in there. And finally, we have just the manual reset to everything. Let's get that. And now you've got distort. It's kind of like boom, 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 boom. You can manually bring it out or squeeze it in. Sorry, I'm getting a little crazy about this. Vertical. And there's some fun stuff here. You can actually see a lot of stuff from the 3D engine in Photoshop. It feels like this is kind of like the postcards in Photoshop, horizontal, so you can dance this around. You can rotate it. You can scale it up and down. You can dance if you want to. And so you've got a lot of manual controls there. I'm going to double click to reset it. And constrain crop, what that does is, it, just like before, it keeps it all with that as if it's on the page. Whereas if I turn this off and do that, it'll give you the white borders to it. And then finally, the lens vignetting once again over here, and that's dealing with these corners over here that are darker. Let's double click that, and now I could lighten those up. Usually you're going to lighten up the corners a little bit and make it so that it doesn't seem so dark in the corners. But I generally like a little vignetting, so that's not a big deal. But you have full control over all these right here, and it's kind of called the upright engine, where all this auto stuff is happening in Lightroom and does a phenomenal job. So really, I just click on those two things and hit auto, and I'm good to go. If I'm not quite sure, maybe I'll reanalyze it, but that's before and that's after. So it really is a great way to readjust your images if they've been a little bit off, get them horizontal, level, and all that stuff. A couple quick clicks and you're really good to go. So get in there and play around with it.